Welcome back. All right, now we are ready for the second fermentation of the kombucha. It is usually recommended to do the first fermentation for about 2 weeks. Honestly, it's been about 3 weeks on my end, and it's starting to get a little vinegary, so I think this is the perfect time to do it. You don't want it to be too acidic or bitter tasting. You still want to have some sweet, I think, by the time you bottle your kombucha. So I think this is the perfect time to do it. So this is the stage where basically bottle it, and if you like to flavor your kombucha. So I will show you here, there's been a beautiful Scobies that have developed, actually numerous Scobies. This one actually was on the top. There's kind of a thin layer there, you can see. That was the most recent Scobie. The new Scobies that are developed are usually called baby Scobies. The original Scobie that I put in there is in here. I believe it's that thick one there. That was the original. So the first thing to do is to remove all the Scobies that are in this large jar fermentation. And that is going to go in this jar here. If you remember from the first video, I originally took the Scobie out of the jar of this size, including what is called the starter tea. And that is what I'm going to basically recreate in this jar right now. So I will take off the fabric, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the Scobies with the tongs. Some people actually say you can actually use your fingers. I don't know whether that's the best way to do it, because again, I went through this detail last time. You have bacteria still in your fingers. You never know. I have, again, washed my hands, washed everything that is in use here today. So I'm just going to remove them with the tongs, and hopefully that will work. Let's see. Hopefully it doesn't break the Scobies. Look at that. That is all good bacteria right there. Okay, I think I've got most of it out. I'm going to use a strainer when I pour the kombucha into the bottle, so hopefully that'll catch any Scobies that I may have missed. But these are now in the jar that I am going to cover with a cheesecloth and let that sit in the cupboard and let that ferment for the next batch. What is always good once you remove the Scobie is you save some of this and you put that in the jar, and that'll help keep it alive. And the Scobies will basically be submerged in the tea. So what's usually a good rule of thumb is save about 10% of the amount that you plan on making your next batch. If I plan on making about 1.5 liters, which is about 3 bottles, save about 150 milliliters of this stuff. So I've got measuring cup here already. I'm just going to pour it right in. It's about 3/4 of a cup, 150 milliliters, just under 3/4 of a cup. So I'll just kind of ballpark it here. Okay, there is the feature starter tea right here, and that goes right in the jar with the Scobies. And that will go in the cupboard for the next brew. Now we are ready to pour the kombucha into the bottles we have here. A good thing to do before doing that is it is recommended to stir up the kombucha here to make sure that all the yeasts and the sugars get mixed up so it'll properly carbonate when it's in the bottles. Carbonation is one of the main functions of putting it in the bottle. It's basically bottle conditioning the brew. So I'm going to just use the same tongs that I had. Just going to stir all that lovely sediment at the bottom. It looks disgusting, but that's the bacteria. That's how you're going to create a good fermented drink. Just make sure it's all mixed together properly. Okay. And now it is ready to go in the bottles. You got a funnel, then we'll use the funnel again to pour into the bottle. Let's see how this goes. Okay, that's the first bottle. Don't want to fill it up too much. Usually a good rule of thumb is to about where the neck starts, maybe just a little bit further up. I'm going to fill it up to that point because I'm going to add some flavoring. That is why I have the orange here. So that's going to add a little bit more juice. So I think that is a good level to keep these right now. Okay. Great. Look at that, that's beautiful. There are your bottles. Bottles, look at that. It's exciting. Okay, so now I'm gonna add flavoring. Sorry, I took a second and I had to just quickly rinse my funnel and my sieve, and I went ahead and juiced some of my juice. So I'm going to add orange flavoring. So I've juiced fresh orange, and I will divide this juice amongst the 3 bottles. There's numerous options for adding flavoring. You can add flavoring upon opening the bottle after the second fermentation, or you can let it ferment a little with the juice. I'm going to ferment it with the juice a little, let it set in. I'm hoping that maybe that'll give it like a softer blend of the juices in there, and then I can just straight up drink it from the bottle, basically. Okay, so I'm going to pour the juice that I've juiced in here. Okay, and now I've added the juice, and now we seal the bottles. These are the swing top ones, was the easiest to do. You just have to make sure that you wash the rubber stoppers and the lids as well, just to make sure that everything is sanitary, and I have done that. There we go. And now these are ready to ferment probably for another 2 or 3 days. The reason for this fermentation is to kind of give it a little carbonation and to allow the yeast and the sugars to mix a little bit more to give that carbonation. And that's it. I'm going to put the new SCOBY and the new tea, keep it in this jar and put it in the cupboard for the next batch that I make. And I'm going to leave these for about 2 or 3 days, maybe a little longer. I mean, they could be left for longer if you want to leave them fermenting for a little bit, but they can stay at room temperature at this point. And then when you want to drink it, you can add some ice if you like to cool it down a little, or you can refrigerate it but just before you're about to drink it. The kombucha really is ready to drink right now. I could drink this, but I would make a little bit more carbonation from the yeast and the sugars to mix. So we'll see what happens. I think this looks right. It should be just a little cloudy, but it's a beautiful color. Sediment is already collecting at the bottom. You probably can't see it. I'm really happy with this. This turned out really well, and hopefully it tastes great after the orange flavoring. It doesn't have to be orange. It could be any kind of flavoring you want. There's numerous options. A lot of citrus flavors. You can add mint. Watermelon, I hear, is a wonderful juice to add. This is where you can add whatever you want. So thank you very much for joining me on this. Leave comments below. Let me know if you've made your own, and let me know how they turned out. If you have any questions or concerns about the process, and I'll keep you guys posted on how this tastes. And check out my other social media channels to look for other content. And thanks for joining me. Have a great day.